Hello, this is day 48 of reading one canto of the Divine Comedy every single day. We are on Purgatorio, Canto 14, which I will read from the Longfellow translation before giving some quick comments. Who is this one that goes about our mountain, or ever death has given him power of flight, and opens his eyes and shuts them at his will? I know not who, but know he's not alone. Ask him thyself, for thou art nearer to him, and gently, so that he may speak, accost him. Thus did two spirits, leaning towards each other, discourse about me there on the right hand, then held supine their faces to address me. And said the one, O soul that, fastened still within the body, towards the heaven art going, for charity console us, and declare whence comest and who art thou, for thou makest us as much to marvel at this grace of thine, as must a thing that never has yet been seen. And I, through midst of Tuscany there wanders a streamlet that is born of Falterona, and not 100 miles of course suffice it. From thereupon do I this body bring. To tell you who I am were speech in vain, because my name as yet makes no great noise. If well thy meaning I can penetrate with intellect of mine, then answered me he who first spake, thou speakest of the Arno. And said the other to him, why concealed this one the appellation of that river, even as a man doth of things horrible? And thus the shade that questioned was of this himself acquitted, I know not, but truly 'tis fit the name of such a valley perish. For from its fountainhead, where is so pregnant the Alpine mountain, whence is cleft Peloro that in few places that the mark surpasses, to where it yields itself in restoration of what the heaven doth of the sea dry up, whence have the rivers that which goes with them, virtue is like an enemy, avoided by all, as is a serpent, through misfortune of place, or through bad habit that impels them. On which account have so transformed their nature the dwellers in that miserable valley. It seems that Circe had them in her pasture. Mid ugly swine, of acorns worthier than other food for humans' use created, it first directeth its impoverished way. Curs findeth it thereafter, coming downward, more snarling than their puissance demands, and turns from them disdainfully its muzzle. It goes on falling, and the more it grows, the more it finds the dogs becoming wolves. This maledict and misadventurous ditch descended then through many a hollow gulf. It finds the foxes so replete with fraud, they fear no cunning that may master them. Nor will I cease, because another hears me, and well 'twill be for him, if still he mind him of what a truthful spirit to me unravels. Thy grandson I behold, who doth become a hunter of those wolves upon the bank of the wild stream, and terrifies them all. He sells their flesh, it being yet alive, thereafter slaughters them like ancient beeves, many of life, himself of praise deprives. Blood-stained he issues from the dismal forest, he leaves it such, 1,000 years from now, in its primeval state, 'tis not yet rewooded. As at the announcement of impending ills, the face of him who listens is disturbed, from whatever side the peril sees upon him, so I beheld that other soul, which stood turned round to listen, grow disturbed and sad, when it had gathered to itself the word. The speech of one and aspect of the other had me desirous made to know their names, and question mixed with prayers I made thereof, whereat the spirit which first spake to me began again, Thou wishest I should bring me to do for thee what thou wilt not do for me? But since God willeth that in thee shine forth such grace of his, I'll not be chary with thee. Know then that I Guido del Duca am. My blood was so with envy set on fire, that if I had beheld a man make merry, thou wouldst have seen me sprinkled o'er with pallor. From my own sowing such the straw I reap. O human race, why dost thou set thy heart where interdict of partnership must be? This is Renier. This is the boast and honor of the house of Calboli, where no one since has made himself the heir of his desert. And not alone his blood is made devoid, twixt Po and Mount, and seashore and the Reno, of good required for truth and for diversion. For all within these boundaries is full of venomous roots, so that too tardily by cultivation now would they diminish. Where is good Lizio, and Arrigo Monardi, Pier Traversaro, and Guido di Carpigna, O Ramugnuoli unto bastards turned. When in Bologna will a Fabro rise, when in Faenza a Bernardin de Fosco, the noble scion of ignoble seed. Be not astonished, Tuscan, if I weep, when I remember with Guido de Prata, Ugolin d'Azzo, who was living with us, Frederick Tignoso and his company, the house of Traversara and the Anastagi, and one race and the other is extinct. The dames and cavaliers, the toils and ease that filled our souls with love and courtesy, there where the hearts have so malicious grown. O Bretonoro, why dost thou not flee, seeing that all thy family is gone, and many people not to be corrupted? Bagnacaval does well in not begetting, and ill does Castrocaro, and Conio worse, in taking trouble to beget such counts. We'll do well the Pagani, when their devil shall have departed, but not therefore pure will testimony of them e'er remain. O Ugolin de Fantoli, secure thy name is, since no longer is awaited one who, degenerating, can obscure it. But go now, Tuscan, for now it delights me to weep, far better than it does to speak. So much has our discourse my mind distressed. We were aware that those beloved souls heard us depart, therefore, by keeping silent, they made us of our pathway confident. When we became alone by going onward, thunder, when it doth cleave the air, appeared a voice that counter to us came, exclaiming, Shall slay me whosoever findeth me, and fled as the reverberation dies if suddenly the cloud asunder bursts. As soon as hearing had a truce from this, behold another with so great a crash, that it resembled thunderings following fast. I am Aglaurus, who became a stone, and then, to press myself close to the poet, I backward and not forward took a step. Already on all sides the air was quiet, and said he to me, That was the hard curb that ought to hold a man within his bounds, but you take in the bait so that the hook of the old adversary draws you to him, and hence availeth little curb or call. The heavens are calling you, and wheel around you, displaying to you their eternal beauties, and still your eye is looking on the ground, whence he who all discerns chastises you. So we're still on the terrace of the envious, and this one is dominated by Dante's talking to two particular spirits who go on a long diatribe against Florence and Italy proper, I believe, because Dante, when asked where he's from, he is kind of hesitant to say he's from Florence. He's like, oh, I'm from this river that kind of goes between these two mountains somewhere in Tuscany. And they all hear him and say, I'm pretty sure you're talking about the Arno River. You're from Florence, aren't you? And then they say, well, no wonder you're ashamed to talk about it, because virtue is not found there anymore. They're repulsed by it. And they then go on a litany of all of the different families and places and people that have been hurt by all of the upheaval and violence and discord that's been sown in Italy in Dante's time. And it really brings you to remember, Dante's writing to chastise them in the hopes that someday it can be better. At this time, again, Italy was not a good place. There's tons of violence. And think to yourself how sad it would make you if you got to see your home, at peace, only to break apart into division and chaos. Perhaps it already has. Anyways, I love the kind of envious sort of reply that the soul at first gives to Dante when he asks it his name. I want to read it from the Mark Musa translation here, so let me find it. And you want me to bring myself to do what you refused to do for me? It's kind of envious, right? He's like, wait a second, you didn't give me your name, so now you want me to give you mine? But he has that inclination, this soul, but then he chooses generosity. He's working on it, and you can see it. But since God wills his grace to shine in you so generously, stingy I shall not be. Right, so again, he feels the envy, but then chooses against it. It's an interesting line that really shows you the state of this soul. Repenting, but changing slowly. And then finally, Virgil says something that we've talked about a few cantos ago, which is, once another soul flies by saying, All who seeth me shall kill me. Which is the voice of Cain, by the way, who killed his brother Abel out of envy. Virgil says that was the boundary that was supposed to keep you in. Meaning, that story was supposed to teach you, humanity, not to be envious. And yet, you still fall for it. He likens it to a bridle or a bit for a horse, right? And yet, still, he says, the adversary, the devil, is still able to get you to be envious, still able to lure you in and trick you. Which kind of goes back to what we were saying about the carvings, right? The carvings, which are stories. Virgil's saying this particular story was supposed to give you what you needed to keep yourself from that vice, but you didn't heed it. It was supposed to keep you from envy and move you towards generosity. So why didn't you listen? That's all for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow.